Greetings, friends. Today's video is about romantic relationships. Note that this is not about deciding whether you should stay with somebody or not. This is about if you're in a relationship that you want to keep, and it's how to keep it alive, how to keep it fresh, how to keep it loving. This has played a huge part in our life. We've been together for 27 years now.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
A long time.
And often, I'll say to people, I still have a crush on her. And in all areas of life, I feel in a way almost that, your romantic partners, whatever your preference is, the person or people that you are sharing your life with most intimately, that is maybe one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. If I have a relationship that is like a foundation underneath me, and it's strong, it's loving, it's connected, it feeds energy into us. And in our everyday life, we find ourselves with more energy than we would otherwise have. The reality for a lot of people today is that the relationship that they're in drains them, and it sucks energy out of us, sometimes to such an extent that most of our daily energy is going into the drama and the pain and the stress that is our romantic relationship.
So what do we do?
We are assaulted by chickens again. Where can we escape? I don't know.
It's good that they're not thinking of us as food.
Before it was deer in the background, and now it's the chickens. They've become further roaming as they get braver and braver.
It's obviously something that we probably want in our lives, is to have a deep connection with our partner so that we can be supported, we can be encouraged to grow, we can be nourished and comforted. Our mental state has so much to do with how we go through the world, and that mental state is definitely affected by the people that we surround ourselves most closely with.
So something I've heard, especially in the rewilding circles, is kind of a fad that the monogamous relationship is just doomed to failure. And it's not just the monogamous relationship, but often, even if you're someone that has, multiple people in your life, that doesn't last very long. It's not meant to. I've heard people say like 5-8 years and then, psh. And to me, and I don't want to be mean about it, but it seems like a little bit of a cop-out. Our mind it loves novelty. No argument there. And when something comes into our life, a person, there's a lot behind a person, but after 5 or 8 years, if we're in our typical civilized mindset, then we're not seeing novelty anymore. Our civilized mindset it gets bored with things because it doesn't see things. It sees its own patterns, right? It sees its own ideas. So by year 5 or 8, I've formed an idea of who Rebecca is. And then I'm in love with that idea. And I'm getting bored of that idea, because the idea is a real, kind of flat, nondescript thing in comparison to the reality of who this person is. And if I can see with clear vision, with what I like to call our rewilded vision, I think it happens to people naturally when they start being out in the woods and living closer to nature, we start to see novelty all the time. She is never the same. I mean, ever. She's a different person every moment, essentially. The way she looks, the way she talks, her ideas, everything's changing and evolving over time. And I'm part of that dance with her, And you can never get bored of that. You can never get tired of that if you are seeing that that person is always fresh, is always new, always novel.
So how do we cultivate seeing with those eyes?
That's, it's not real easy. We've got these traditions like Zen and such that are helping us to recapture some of that natural vision we had. But I think the first step comes with understanding, A, that my mind does seek novelty, and B, that it will form a, what do I usually call it, a crystallization that will form an idea over everything in my life. The people, the trees I see, the scenes. If you look out a certain window every day, you see the same thing every day, even though it's never been the same 2 days in a row. And so realizing that the truth of the world is ever shifting, ever changing, ever novel. The illusion that we put over the world is that the world's the same old thing every day.
Day in, day out.
Yeah. But that is not a reality. Those are sunglasses I'm wearing that tint the world in a very certain way. Worse than sunglasses, they're like glasses with just snapshots, photographs on there that try to freeze the world into something that it's not. So some of the initial ways that I sparked this in myself was to, for instance, watch your features and realize that, when you're talking, when you're smiling, when you're sad, when you're crying, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're being in that moment, your features are always changing. And as you get older, they've changed and shifted. And, your hair is a little bit different. It's a different tapestry. That moves and shifts all the time. A person's face is unbelievable. It's remarkable because it's this ever-shifting tapestry. Staying away from too much media.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm going to share something with you guys that was remarkable to me because I've been completely away from media now, I want to say, basically for 6 months, except for a documentary on when Native people were first here in the United States.
But define media, what
Media.
you're talking about.
Okay. I'm talking about movies. I'm talking about...
News? Well...
Yeah, actually, world news, junk, YouTube, internet surfing, this kind of stuff where we just go off and get entertained. Yeah. And so, that documentary, but otherwise I've been basically free of media, and I've been really doing a morning practice of meditation and such. My mind has been getting so loving and clear and beyond where it's ever been before. And then the other day with my girls, they've been wanting to watch Moana again with me. And I sat down with them and we watched this movie, which we haven't seen for a while, but we sat down to it, watched it again. It's an uplifting movie. It's
great messages.
Great, it's really positive and everything. But afterwards, I could feel it in my mind. It was like I just had a whole bunch of junk food for my body. And I literally had not felt any irritation with my children for as long as I can remember. And within 10-15 minutes after turning that movie off, one of them did something normal, and I felt a flash of irritation. Our modern entertainment media, I just don't think it's good for us. I think it's affecting us more than we know. And having come off a fast, essentially, taken a bite and seen that effect, it was very eye-opening to me. How that media gets my mind into those patterns of not seeing the person around me.
If you think about it, it's like you look at our movies over the last, I don't know, even say 15 years, and it's got to be bigger and flashier and more exciting and more twists and turns, and like more and more and more always. And then regular life is just like dull in comparison, because are you having like aliens coming stalking through while cars come to life, and how could it ever compare, right? And then how can your partner ever compare to all of that? It's just quieting down. I was gonna say time in nature, a little bit of time by yourself or with your partner, and then you can begin to be slowed down, to have some reflection time, to settle that bar that's always moving higher and higher back down to a level where there's room for taking in the slower stuff, right? The things that are everyday. And a lot of times, for me, I notice I come back if I've taken some time in nature by myself, and I feel a sense of gratitude for what I'm stepping into, the life I'm stepping into.
This is an important one, everybody. If you think about, okay, your mind wanting novelty, and you think about what the movies, the social media, video games, all this stuff is doing to our novelty sensors, we are no longer going to be able to love and appreciate this life that we're in. And there's a rock in front of us here, and it's incredible. There's shadows moving over it. There's little spider webs that are glinting in the sunlight. If our mind is slowed down, we find beauty and amazement everywhere we look. If we keep intaking these substances, right? I'm just going to call them substances. The social media and the movies and such, it's just keeps raising that RPM of our mind higher and higher and higher. And we can't see what's in front of us anymore. This big second part to me is being conscious about the person in your life, and being conscious about the emotions that you feel towards that person. I was just listening to Dr. Amit Sood. He's a great neuroscientist, and he's talking about, he basically said if we use a neural network, a network in our brains, we strengthen it. So if I'm 5-8 years in and I'm taking Rebecca for granted, and I just pass my eyes over her and don't really give attention or consciousness to her, then again, I'm not seeing her, and I'm basically building up an idea that she's not worth noticing, that she's boring. And then no wonder after 8 years I'm going to be like, oh, I got to look for somebody else.
Right.
And I'll look for that somebody else and go through that same process. Because the problem isn't the other person, the problem is me. So if we're conscious about how we're feeling about somebody, it's the same thing that I talked about in a video once, where with junk food or cigarette or whatever it is, if you think about something really horrible and you associate that with it, then there's going to be that association. But if you consciously create an association with the person in your life of positivity, then you're going to be using that neural network, creating that association, and you're always going to be feeling in a pretty positive state about that person. So with you, what I do is, like, starting when I wake up, looking over at her and saying, to me, you're the most beautiful person in the world. Because every morning I look at you and I'm like, I just take in the sight of you. And it doesn't matter what a person looks like. You can look at them, you can see this beauty in them, and just enchant yourself with it. When you watch the person during the day, again, I'll like look you over maybe in proper ways, but also just think about, consciously about how grateful I am for you, how much I love you, how much I appreciate the things about you. I can think about these positive things. I could equally think about negative things. I could start to nitpick, pull you apart in terrible ways, and I'm going to strengthen that neural network. What am I going to choose? That's up to me. And it's not so much her. Again, as it's me and what I'm forging in my mind.
So obviously, the topic of connection in relationships and cultivating love in your partnership is very deep and very broad. But this is a beginning of noticing your part in it, noticing the ways in which I am needing to slow down, needing to be aware of what media I'm taking in, be aware of how I'm framing you. And we can train our brains, right? Right? I mean, we're supposed to be an intelligent species. So certainly we can do it. I think it would be a fun experiment to try. Like, pick a week, 1 week, and every morning when you wake up, look at a picture or look at your partner and practice some of that cultivation of noticing them, of noticing the changingness of them, of cultivating that love and enchantment, I like that word, enchantment, of the qualities that you really appreciate in them. And funny thing is, when you start to cultivate, like, oh, I just love that, look at how, like, they're so giving, or they're so sharing, or this or that, strangely enough, those qualities come out in the other person. They truly do, right? As the recipient of someone who is giving love in that way and using those lenses in an aware way, I often feel my good side is just brought forward. And it's so nice. It's wonderful. So pick a week, get up in the morning, notice that, and then through the day, notice. Stop. Take some time. It could be 10 seconds. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah. It's a big part of it, what you said about that. Those qualities come out, you know? And so we start looking at the person, and it's almost a little mystical. If you appreciate, you know, if you appreciate the smile lines around their eyes, I bet you're going to find that they're more smiley that day. But even more so, if you tell that person how much you appreciate these positive qualities, you're going to see those positive qualities emerge more and more. And that's, again, where it's self-defeating in relationships. And I feel like I'll see this in people where I've developed a nitpick thing, right? Like, oh, you're always wearing these bracelets, or whatever it's going to be. And then I start nitpicking that, and then I complain about it to you, and then you're feeling like, well, I have a right to wear whatever bracelets I want. Maybe you're going to wear more bracelets, right? And that just cascades people down, where that reinforcing the positive things, boom, you see the negative things in a way almost melt away just by what you focus on. So it's watching that media, right? Feel what that does to your mind. Just start engaging in some porn for a while, and you will see your ability to be sexually attracted to your partner plummet. So, that awareness of your media intake, and then being conscious about your emotions that you're projecting out onto a person and your view of them. Realizing that you have that choice to look at a negative quality or to look at a positive quality. The shape of your partner may have changed over the last 10 years. You can look at that and say, oh, look at how beautiful they used to be and now they're just getting fat. Or you could look and say, look at that beautiful shape that they have. And in giving them love for the shape they have, they may start exercising more and becoming more conscious because they enjoy that connection, that feedback that you're giving them, and they want their body to look different for you. Whatever the quality is, physical, emotional, mental, that positivity will do wonders.
Well, share with us. How do you stay connected in your relationships with your partners? If you don't have a partner, can relate to friends, family. What are some ways that you notice that you can cultivate that deeper connection? I mean, tell us and try an experiment. Try some of the things we've suggested. Next time you pick up your cell phone because you're bored and you don't know what you're going to do and you're going to surf through the internet, put it down and go, hey, baby doll, let's go for a walk. Well, you don't have to call him baby doll, you can call him honey or whatever. And try going for a walk. For the amount of time that you're going to spend looking up random things on the internet, go outside, look at the clouds, and just say, hey, tell me how you're doing today. So tell us, share with us.
All right. Thank you. Can't wait to hear from you in the comments. Love to you all.